And we are hello.
Hello.
Hello,
No
everybody.
chat on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Been a whopping 22-ish hours since we were last on stream because we decided just to do some Helldivers last night for fun. Lindsay was
Yeah, I
there.
saw that popped up and I was wondering if that was like real or if my phone was just freaking out.
It's funny because we usually do now. So D&D is usually Wednesdays. D&D's on hiatus right now, so we've been doing Wednesdays, but we have a concert tomorrow night.
Okay.
So while instead of streaming tomorrow night at around this time, we will be getting thunderstormed on and 60 degrees, and there's a
Sounds like a great
Amazing.
time.
it's a reason that you hit a certain age and never get lawn seats again the rest of your life.
Did you
We
get
just
lawn
no
seats?
hell no. Are you kidding me?
Oh,
My
okay. I was
knees?
gonna say, come on now.
No,
Come on now.
it's a rookie move. I'm not there.
Although, have you seen those big, you can blow them up. Well, you don't blow them up, you run. And I am a proud owner of one of these, and I make everyone laugh at the concert, and I take pride in that. But you like open it and then you run and it fills with air, and then you pull it over your head and you roll it, and it turns into a couch, kind of. It turns into two, I don't know what
I'm
it's
having a
called,
really hard
two
time
giant
visualizing
balloons full
all
of
that.
air, and then you can sit in it kind of like a couch.
So, Chad, if you ever wondered why you see that label on certain things that says this bag is not a toy, it's because of people like Lindsay.
100%. 100. There we
Right.
had this in Oregon, Washington area, in the gorge over there. There's this huge amphitheater that puts on big concerts and festivals and things over there, and it's beautiful. But the way it's set up is it's tiered, right? Grass up, and so you have enough room to set up like a small group of you along, and each tier is huge, right? It goes for forever, but it's not super wide. And so I had to like move everyone, like, okay, everybody get forward, and then just like get a hold of it and run like a crazy person until I pulled it up over the top of me and then rolled it up really fast. And everyone was just dying laughing, but everyone was so jealous for the remainder of the concert because I was lounging in a weird looking
I mean,
couch.
it honestly sounds like a great time.
You,
They're great.
yeah, you would go for that type of thing. I know how your brain works, John. But
Totally.
also, like, we completely have insulted the guest before introducing the guest, which
Yeah.
is that's all on me.
Well, this is a great introduction to Lindsay as a person. So I think it was a great start,
Yeah.
honestly.
So why are you our guest tonight? Well, because I have a plastic bag that I could turn into a couch. Okay. Welcome to Shark Tank.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly. I
thank you
wish I
everyone for
created it.
joining us. We're very happy. We're excited really to be starting back up our fireside chats. Anybody who's been with us for a long time knows that we used to do these all the time. They're a whole bunch of fun. But we had a bit of a lull there for a little while. And so we're really excited to be back in the fireside chat schedule regularly. So we have today with us Lindsay, the amazing Lindsay Gray. She's one of our phenomenal volunteers here at the Innocent Lives Foundation. And so we're just going to get to know Lindsay a little bit today and also have some fun, have some drinks, have some laughs. It'll be a good time. So Nick is going to be running the stream for us. So
Hello.
check, fire off any questions or anything. Nick will be catching those for us.
Yeah.
And Lindsay, why don't we start off by you just giving us a little bit of an introduction into who you are and why you're volunteering for the ILF.
Yeah, so I am from the Pacific Northwest and relocated over to the East Coast. And let's see, I work in the mental health world, and I have for about a decade now, following being an EMT for about 7 years. So
Oh, wow.
that first, and then moved over into kind of the mental health world, working with youth and adolescents specifically, and then here and there with domestic violence victims. So my heart and soul is in it because I'm a lived experience expert. So I'm a survivor myself, and so my heart and soul is in seeing other people not have to walk that road, or to at least be able to walk the road of recovery alongside someone who understands what they're walking through on some semblance. Do we ever really understand anyone? Probably not, but like enough, right? So yeah, I work as a peer and qualified mental health associate, and yeah, that's me. I'm a mom, and
That's amazing. I love you dropped that at the end. I'm a mom. Like that's not
I'm
like
a
a huge
mom.
part of who you
It's a
are.
whole,
Yeah.
well, it's not the professional side, right? So that was my professional side. My fun side is like I love outdoor activities. I found it harder over here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it like there's just a lot more people. Back home, it was like, 20 minutes and you were, well, it's 45 minutes to the mountain, and an hour to the beach and 20 minutes to any frisbee golf course, hiking, swimming, pick something, right? Like
Wow.
we
So
were
you had it
always
all.
doing something because there was, there's snowboarding in the winter and water skiing in the summer and paddleboarding and surfing if you want to go surfing. And there's even up north, there's even really good cold water diving, and like you can do anything over there.
I remember that
So
about the Vancouver area, like Whistler, like that whole same thing. They're like, you go 45 minutes this direction, you have your toes in the sand. You go 45 minutes this direction, you have your toes in some skis. Like
yep,
what? Like,
yep.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
And
not gonna get that
it's
in Norfolk.
hot.
Yeah, not gonna get that in the East Coast anywhere,
The
pretty much.
East Coast area,
Yeah.
anything over in like, yeah, it's just not, yeah. So that's an adjustment. I was so excited when I was like, oh, we're gonna be right by the water. And then I got here and I was like, it's a swamp. It is
Yeah.
not real water. It is water, I'll give it that, but it's not water like you want to be. And there's things that want to kill you here, like a lot of things that want to kill you here. That's new because that's not the case over there either. Like we had rattlesnakes, I suppose, but you kind of have to be looking for them, and they're only in the eastern part of the states. They're not in the western part of the states where I lived, right? So you're not going to have like, we have gardener snakes,
I feel like
but
we
they're
should.
not
What if we
harmful.
if we did a map of the U.S.
Uh,
and if we did a
everything deadly's over here.
no, I think if we did like well, yeah, but if we did like topics, like if we broke up the United States just based on the conversations we have during fireside chats,
Oh yeah.
what would it look like? The whole Pacific Northwest would be like outdoorsy fun, and then like
Only half of it has snakes.
right, well then you get down to like the
Yeah, and that's
Arizona, New
it, right?
Mexico, and you're like aliens, and then you come over
Yep.
here, like everything's trying to kill us, and then yeah, it's just it would be interesting just to sort of see what the
It sounds
Have
like
you
you got to
guys
make
heard
that
of the
happen. Post it to the
assassin
data
bug?
Reddit.
Have you heard of the assassin bug?
No.
It's a thing. We have them here. Of course
Hold on,
we
I'm
do.
pulling this up. Assassin bug.
An assassin bug.
I don't know
Yeah.
that you're gonna get that if you Google it. I don't know that you're gonna on the first try get what
Yeah,
Lindsay's
no, I
going
got
for.
it. A Redyavide is its official name.
Yeah, I will never call it that. I will always call it the assassin bug
The
because that's
assassin
much
bug.
cooler.
Yeah, I think
But
that.
they
That's
don't
crazy.
look, okay, they're kind of cute. They
Yeah.
don't look terrible. They kind of remind me of like somewhere between like a walking stick and a praying mantis or something, right? Like they have kind of that look to them. And they can be very small. And one of them fell on Luke's shoulder while we were outside last summer. And we were looking at it. We're like, oh, what is that cool bug? Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I've never seen anything like. They're deadly. These little monsters kill people. Right?
See, that's what I think people don't understand about Florida. So coming from Florida, everyone's like, "Oh, well, that's amazing. You live in Florida. You must love it. You must go to the beach all the time." No, Florida's a swamp, and everything is actively trying to murder you. It's
Everything.
just like mini Australia, is all it is.
Right. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
I
it's
left.
I'm
terrible.
afraid to go outside, and I love the outside. I hate being inside, but I'm afraid to go outside because I'm like, everything's gonna kill me. It's out to get me.
It's ILF Fireside Chat. Come for the protecting children online. Stay for the assassin bugs. Yes, this
Yeah.
is.
The assassin bugs and the pollen.
Oh no, don't even. Yeah, I don't know why they sell cars in any color other than
If
yellow.
if the bugs don't kill you, the pollen will make sure you can't breathe anymore or see out your eyeballs. Like what the heck?
It's there to
That's so
slow your
weird over
cardio
here,
so you
you
can't.
guys.
Yeah, slow your cardio so you can't outrun the bugs.
No, we don't have
Slow your
asthma.
cardio.
Just make you out of
Right?
breath all the time.
It's so weird. But yeah, yes, I do very much miss the Pacific Northwest. I think that's obvious at this point. But that being said, outside of outdoor stuff, tattoos, live music, which there is good music here. I will give it that. There's good music here. So that's fun.
Pros and cons, right?
Huh?
Is it pros and cons, right?
Pros and cons.
Yeah.
Yes, pros and cons. So
Have you?
mom outdoors.
Has it like easy, difficult, complicated? Like what? How would you describe like being able to? Were you able to take your mental health coaching
Mm.
and how easily does it travel with you? Were you able to still
Yeah, so
client base and
luckily, okay, as a coach, right? So I have certifications in several different things outside of, but I function as a coach. I don't tend to function under any of those umbrellas, and that's for a reason, because as a coach, you're not certified per state.
oh
Yeah. So that changes the ball game. And it changes the expectations a bit, which is good. I like being able to connect one-on-one with people in a personal relationship, more like a mentorship. And coaching allows that. That's something that you can ethically function under and as. So it was easy. I do a lot of everything online. So I actually have had clients all over the world. Time zones gets kind of complicated, but I have had clients from all over the world. Um,
Time zones,
because of
John.
that.
Time zones.
Time
I know.
zones, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say anyone just before we went live, we were talking about how we screwed up the meeting invite because of time zones. So
And I even learned something about time zones from you just now. Like I have to have the computer must auto calculate time zones. So the best thing that I ever did was sign up for a calendar app or program so that I have my time zone, they enter their time zone, and it just figures it
and it
out.
does the math.
That is it. And we all end up with the appropriate link to the appropriate time, and that is the best thing of all time.
Time zones are fascinating, though. I think it's something that, like, when you think back through history about some of the things that humans figured out so early on,
Mhm,
and for example, time zones were a key factor in positioning during naval navigation.
mhm.
And like today, still we like fumble around with them. But hundreds of
Right,
years ago, they were like mastering them already and charting out their way across the world. And we're just
right.
like, I can't figure out EST and EDT.
Right. Well, yeah, and for planting and farming and all the different, I get it. But now we do everything on a computer anyway, so
Yeah.
whatever time the sun goes down is relative.
No, so it's really interesting you bring up the difference between like certifications and being a coach. Because when I hear coach, and I think for a lot of people, when you hear coach, it means a lot of different things. So if you had to
Right.
kind of distill it down into what it means to you and for your clients, like how would you explain it?
I explain coaching as being in a perfect world, okay, a good coach should be someone who has the knowledge and education similar to that of a counselor. I say similar because obviously, if you went through your entire master's degree, you're going to go ahead and get certified as a counselor. It'd be silly not to. That being said, when I say similar, I mean continuing education. I mean, put your time and effort into exploring. Um, so there's the knowledge and the education behind it, but you should function as a mentor and as a friend. And that allows you to have a different level of companionship for someone, but also coaches also by definition should be more focused on forward movement and looking forward. So when you're looking at like the history behind coaching is kind of interesting because it really comes from like sponsorship and a 12-step kind of idea, and that's life experience, lived experience, and then looking at forward movement. So that's not to say that you don't ever speak about things in the past, but a lot of talk therapy specifically focuses on bringing up things from the past in the name of processing, which has its
Right.
value, don't get me wrong. But I think it's also important, and particularly with anyone who has issues with addiction, trauma, PTSD, any of those things, right? You're kind of running a danger factor moving back in time and reliving experiences. So moving forward and focusing on forward, sometimes you have to revisit topics and how you've transferred information from your past and into your future, but we really try and avoid reliving and retelling of stories when particularly when you're not ready to. It's one thing if you've healed it, but if you haven't healed it yet, you're not ready to retell it. So that's probably one of the biggest differences is coaching should be moving forward and it should be client led. So if they don't want
That
to be
makes a
there,
lot of sense.
you just don't do it. I
Yeah,
just
that
don't
makes a lot of
clients that
sense.
don't want to.
I appreciate the breaking it down because that helps me clarify in my mind.
Unfortunately, one with limited qualifications that go into coaching, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of things kind of start to set rules and regulations on coaching going forward, just like they have in peer support and other things to maintain a level of excellence
Yeah.
and have accountability. Because unfortunately, there's a lot of coaches out there that don't necessarily have the education factor, and you run the risk of doing damage when you haven't. But there are also a lot of coaches that are quote unquote life coaches or career coaches, and they may be focusing on, what's your health journey look like, or what's your, how do I coach you in building your business or something like that. And your risk factor in that is much different than if you're dealing with someone who's experienced trafficking per se, and you're diving through PTSD issues and trauma that's significant and navigating mental wellness. It's a whole different ballpark of coaching. So it becomes more important to have
I think
higher level of
life
expectation.
coach is one of those things. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's a very broad
Mm-hmm.
term. Like, I feel like I've definitely been at like business networking meetings. Somebody's been like, "Here's my card. I'm a life coach." I'm like, "Bro, you're 22." Like, hold on.
Right.
Yeah. Like, hold on a
Right.
second.
Yeah.
You in not I'm not knocking. Look, there are a lot of knowledgeable 22-year-olds out there.
Totally.
Let me not broad brush,
Totally.
but yeah, but life coach just is a what's your qualification? I made these business cards on my printer last night. Is not your qualification, right?
Right.
You in your bio mentioned something, and because you used the word a couple times already, which was mentorship.
Mm.
And in your bio, you said that just I just want this for clarification. This is my
Oh, yeah, go for it.
where you said like also Charlie says hi. He's wherever he is. My old best pet who loves Lindsay
Aw.
to tears. Uh, is that um, mentorship has been, I think the term is like removed from our culture. Is I think how you worded it. Is that was that intentional? Like what? Give me like the overall feeling on that because I feel like that's something that we could definitely
Dive into.
pull.
Yeah.
There's layers to that statement.
There's layers to that for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, it was definitely intentional. I feel strongly about mentorship, probably largely because of my own life experience. Um, I had some great adults in my life growing up, some great people. I also had some really horrible people, but I had a intermixing that I would consider, by no means would I consider my childhood normal or my young adulthood normal, but I do think I had a normal intermixing of, not great people and great people and everywhere in between, right? But what I lacked was mentorship as I would define it, and that is a deep and meaningful relationship with another person that was not my peer. So I had deep, and that was not my family. Okay, so
I
I
mean,
had
that's an
my
important
mom.
distinction, right?
That's
That's
an
a very
important
important
distinction.
Very,
distinction.
very.
So I had my mom, who I love and respect, and I had friends who I loved and respect, or love and respect. But I didn't have. I even had a few of my mom's friends who I loved and respected, but they did not function as someone that I was comfortable. They were my mom's friends. I knew they loved me, but they were her friends, right?
Mhm.
And so think back however long back you want to go, okay? Hundreds of years. We'll just start there. When people were raised, they were raised in towns. We'll call them a town, we'll
Yep.
call them a township, I don't know, whatever you want to call them. They were small communities, okay? And there were all these individual families that made up these small communities. And it was not uncommon for so-and-so's son to go work with and learn a trade from so-and-so, okay? Everyone knew each other. It was a safe space because everyone knew each other. Expectations were pretty clear, pretty laid out, and pretty understood by the entire community as a whole. There was a common level of expectation in what quote unquote normalcy was within that town, right? That didn't necessarily mean it was the same thing 3 towns over. It could have been different.
Yeah.
But now our kids have access to the entire globe, all of those expectations, all of those normalities, all of those social nuances, all of it. And they don't, I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't understand all of it. I understand more than I did 10 years ago, but I don't understand all of it, anywhere near all of it, right? So how could we expect a not fully developed, right? So an underdeveloped, not in a bad way, but a developing, I guess would be a better word. How can we expect a developing brain to understand, grasp, and see the whole picture of each one of those things worldwide through all of those cultures, right? It's not ideal in any version of the word. Then you say they have their family. Most of these kids, at least American kids now, because we have so many dangers and so many other things, right? They spend a lot of time at home. And maybe outside of home, they spend time at their school or at their sports, but they're on their sports team. But they're spending a majority of their time in their home, maybe a peer's home, but they're not really. And those sets of parents may not even be connected, right? They may have completely different expectations and cultural views. And yet the kid's not, as far as an adult mentor, they have a parent, which we know teenagers are wired to push against their parents and their parents' belief systems. We know that that's a part of development. It's a good part of development because it's what creates independence. So when that child begins the natural process of pushing against their parent, there needs to be another mentor, another adult that they can trust, that they can bare their heart to and know it's safe and know that they can rely on their expectations. And for most kids today, there is not that other person.
Yeah, most kids are growing
Or
up
people.
in a capsule, in a bubble, with
100%.
the influence coming from God knows where.
Yep.
And yeah, it's not,
And
not
as
really as
adults,
healthy
it's
as
the
an environment
same.
as it used to be.
No, it's not. And as adults, it's the same thing, right? I still have to have mentorship, because if I'm an island I'll get burnt, and sometimes I just need someone to hear me or to give me a perspective that I haven't thought of or anything, right? So it's not just limited to teenagers. I think it's exponentially more crucial for teens. But I think we all, to some extent, need mentors in our
Oh, yeah.
lives.
There's an interesting quote I read a couple weeks ago. It's talking about that topic, about just growth from other people. And it was talking about how, wisdom requires knowledge as a base level, right? So, and because not one human is a repository for all the knowledge in the
Right.
universe, by default, we need to rely on each other to complement what we lack.
Mm-hmm.
And it really was talking about the need for humility in that regard, that you don't know everything, that you need to
Yeah.
continue to learn, but also the need for reliable, accurate information and reliable sources of truth. And so I think it's a very important topic that
And sometimes limiting. I mean, I would argue sometimes limiting information, and I know that probably sounds absolutely crazy, but to some extent, our brains can only handle so much. I was watching, okay, for example, like one more lighthearted example. I love the TV show Sherlock. Okay. And Sherlock makes a comment somewhere because Watson is messing with him about how how can you be so intelligent and you didn't know it was some sort of like very basic thing. And he just like gets so frustrated. And he's like, this is my hard drive. If I bog it up with all this extra information, I can't keep doing. And I think when I say limiting information, I don't mean being closed-minded. That's not what I'm talking about. But I think to some extent, we have so much at our fingertips all the time that really prioritizing what is important information in our lives and at specific times is important. And again, when you're talking about teenagers, their ability to prioritize that and even know what is pertinent, important information is limited. They haven't had the time to expect them to know that would be downright naive. They haven't had the time to learn that yet. You have to give them that time.
So speaking of that next generation of these teens and the ones coming up younger than them, if you had to pass on something, or you hope that they learn something from your example or from your life course, what would it be? If you could pick one thing for the younger generation to take away from your example.
That shame will ruin them. Shame will ruin them, and to choose not to live with it. I spent too many years trying not to let people down and trying to remain, as I thought I was supposed to be, whether it was the good wife or the perfect mother or the perfect daughter. Or at one time I thought what I needed to maintain was the not perfect daughter. I needed to maintain the black sheep role, it changed varying times, but that I always had this expectation on having to maintain something. And I never met it. So I was constantly full of shame. And I
If you
never
don't mind
wanted
me
anyone
asking,
to
was that a self-inflicted expectation or external?
Both. I think the perfection was external. It was from childhood. It was the perfection of making sure people didn't think negatively of our family. It was the perfection of just how to work hard, how to whatever. And there was definitely a sense of like, you will have to find a man. There was a lot of that like sexist, you need to find a good man, and that's how you will be
Yeah,
successful.
that's your life path, right? Find the man and just you're good.
Yeah. If you can't find a good guy, then you've lost it. I heard a lot of like, well, you're really pretty.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm working my butt off to get good grades here, and I don't want to be really pretty.
That was
Yeah.
mom-in-law refers to that as going to college to get your MRS.
Which is
Your missus to go find your man. Like that was literally
oh
that's how she referred to like go to college to get your MRS. Like, I'd say and all of us
yep
are like,
yeah.
what?
What
Like
are you talking about? What's an
master's
MRS? I'm putting my yeah, exactly right.
Right.
My wife was
What?
smiling. She just turned over. She just said that's what her grandma used to say.
That's exactly it. It's
Yeah.
exactly.
It was a lot,
exactly.
and I remember the shame because I grew up in the church, right? I don't know how many people have asked or had asked me like how I ever went back to it, because there was this expectation that it was like what you wore. It was your responsibility to make sure that you were not the stumbling block. And the amount of shame that came from this sense of, oh my gosh, if you do something to ruin this poor young boy, it is you. You are the Jezebel. You are the problem.
Right.
And that was an incredible amount of like so damaging in my ability to not feel ashamed of just my own skin. Right. And eventually it ended up with me as an eating disorder. Well, if I'm just stick skinny, I can do that. Well, I can starve myself good. Like
Yeah.
that sounds ridiculous, but that's the reality of it. And I didn't have anyone to step in my life and say, I know what you're doing. I know that you're trying to starve yourself so you feel a sense of control and that you feel like you're doing something right. I didn't have anyone to do that. I had people to say, oh my gosh, I'm worried about you. I had people to say all of these other things, but no one could just call it out and be like, I get it. I've sat in your shoes. I even knew other older women who had eating disorders, but didn't know how to talk to me like a person. They talked to me like a kid, like a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't blame them. Do not get me wrong. I don't blame them. I don't think they ever had that modeled for them either. Right.
Yeah.
But my life changed when I had a mentor step into my life, and she just threw me on my butt verbally. Like right after I met her, she was the kindest, most fun, loving, sweet person. And as I got to know her, sitting in her kitchen, talking to her while she was making dinner, so real, so raw. And then she just dropped a bomb on me. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she's like, don't worry, me too. Like she just kept rolling. There was literally, I think that was groundbreaking. There was zero shame. There was no shame. It was just, it's what it is.
We did not trigger warning at the beginning of the Fireside.
We should have definitely trigger
just
warning.
Let me before, because we kind of are starting to dip toes a little bit.
Yeah.
And so like you, because I've streamed every week, so I'm always the one going. The Innocent Lives Foundation is a non-vigilante organization that identifies child predators online, develops and delivers specialized training for law enforcement, and provides education resources for families and teachers, et cetera, et cetera. So, but I don't.
Have you said that once or twice before?
I know, that's so impressive.
It's the top of every hour. Look, if there's one thing I learned from
so good
being, I can say recovering Catholic because that's my life. That's my title. Nobody put that for my life. That's not official on me. But also, like, yeah, repetition works to an extent. But yeah, so I don't know the syntax of the trigger warning, John, because usually it's just like, hey, we're a non-vigilante organization that does all these things, and we're going to go shoot aliens for 2 hours. Come join us. There's not usually a trigger warning that is necessary there. So if we wanted to,
what I'll say with this, because depending on how the conversation continues, we as an organization, we keep everything PG-13. That being said, by the nature of what we do as an organization, sometimes triggering topics do come up, and they are explored in a healthy and positive way. However, this, especially as a fireside chat, is everyone sharing their personal experience. So this is not a filtered, moderated conversation. So we just invite everybody to take part at the level with which they are comfortable with. And we apologize in advance if anyone is triggered as a result. That is not our goal.
Well said.
Well said.
Very well said.
We are as scripted as we are formal, as you can tell from the dress code. So, yeah, no.
Lindsey
showed up, and I'm like, dang! I hope Nick shows up in a hoodie because I'm looking bad right now.
I've had meetings all day, so I've been this way since this morning.
I hope Nick shows up in a hoodie to make me look better. All right, that tells me.
No, not look better. Just Lindsey looks great, and I didn't want to be the only
Look
one in a
more
t-shirt.
casual.
If you showed up, in like a button down and everything,
Yeah.
I was kind of relying on that not being the case. That's all.
In fairness, it is like probably 90% of the time that I'm in jeans and a t-shirt. I just happen to be in jeans and a t-shirt and a cardigan today. With earrings.
You made a better chance of winning the lottery than seeing me dressed up on this.
I don't want to see you in a cardigan.
No,
That would be weird.
what am I, Perry
Well, I know
Como?
there's guys cardigans.
I'm not a cardigan.
You're not a
dude.
cardigan guy. You're not Mr. Rogers.
But I'm also I'm not. But I'm also not a. Gotta wear a Malort shirt. John and I have a long-standing battle all over Malort. Yeah. So, there's the jersey right there.
I had it on standby. I knew it was going to come up at some point, and I had to have it on standby. But I didn't want to derail the conversation by having it on at the beginning.
Very well done.
Hold on. Now that it's already been broached, I might as well throw it on.
Okay,
Yes.
now you
All
get
right.
it ready.
There we go.
Now he's dressed up. Now
I'm dressed up. See, that was the segue I've been waiting for. Now,
you probably wondered if it was even coming. You've been waiting this whole time.
Oh, I know. I was waiting, and I also have this on standby. We'll get into later. But you were talking about mentorship and how impactful that was for you, and I want to stay on that a little longer because I think it's a really important topic. And how old were you when you
30.
had this? 30.
30. Way too old in my opinion. I say way too old. I wasn't old. There are people. I ran in the recovery world, 12-step world for quite a while, and it was a huge part of my healing, and I'm incredibly thankful for that community. But what I will say is there's people of all ages, right? But there are a lot of people who don't ever find any amount of healing until much later in life. So when I say 30, I'm incredibly thankful that it was 30. But man, it would have been great if it had been way earlier. Then that's my goal, is to just see people that have the opportunity, even if I'm not, I don't need to be their coach, but to meet people and have that eye-opening moment where they're like, oh my gosh, maybe I could be vulnerable and not be full of shame. And maybe there are people who really do understand.
Well, I think there's a really powerful lesson there too, because yes, I 100% agree with you. Mentorship, I wish everybody had mentorship from a very young age growing up, but also it's never too late to find a mentor in life either. And I think there's a very powerful example there as a full-grown woman, as a 30-year-old, still being able to find that help to healing at that age, I think is very meaningful to a lot of people, to a lot of our listeners.
Yeah, it's so crucial. And I already had my kids. I was already working in the service, right? So I'd already had my whole career as an EMT and started working with teens, giving back as a mentor, right? Like I didn't know fully, I don't think I understood fully what it could look like, because I knew what it looked like as a counselor. I knew what it looked like as other people I'd run into, right? But she single-handedly changed the way I viewed what coaching and mentorship could look like. And in that process, like I had the opportunity to continue healing in a different way with her alongside me, and then what turned into my whole community alongside me, and then was able to pass that and mentor other people in a different way than I ever had before. And you could see massive changes in the way their face lit up, when they saw that they were seen or they felt safe. And it was just different outcomes for people. And I don't put that on my coaching. I just put that on the simple fact of human connection and how important it is.
While you said you were, sitting in a kitchen helping her, watching her cook, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't a formal therapy session. It was just genuine human connection. Yeah.
Yep. It was so different.
I had an hour today with Captain Hammer, just in his shorts and t-shirt, chilling in the office. I mean, we didn't talk about anything foundation related at all. Like, we literally talked yesterday because I had introduced him to a new volunteer up in Canada, and I was like, I'm still on your calendar for tomorrow. I can cancel it. And he was like, no, definitely do. And of course, we went an hour because we always go an hour instead of 30 minutes because we're talkers. But same thing. There's so many different things that we get. It's a trusted space where you're like, I
Yeah.
can, yeah, like I'm stuck on this thing. What would you do?
Yeah.
And Shane's like having a counselor anyway. Is he bringing his voice all the way down?
Yeah.
I was very, very blessed to grow up with Captain Hammer, aka Shane, aka Dad, as my dad.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he is so like just brings a calming
Yeah.
environment and like open environment. There's something calming, but then also open and just honest and vulnerable about. And when you're met with someone who's honest and vulnerable and open, it's almost impossible not for you to immediately be like, oh, this is a safe space for me to be that way as well, right? But it doesn't tend to feel that way when you go into a counselor's office. Not that I haven't experienced great counselors, but ethics on their ethics board tells them that it can't really be that way because they can't share anything, right? And so they have to maintain that. And that means that when you walk in there, you sit down and the eyes are on you. And that is a different level of pressure. It doesn't feel the same.
It's
So,
not it's not bidirectional or communal. I think is a word that you also
yep,
that you use
you know.
that you're a big fan of, which is like this. Like we were
Mhm.
like, we have 11 questions. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You have a better chance of walking outside and getting hit by 7 buses than you have a chance of us asking 11 questions. Because this is just it
Yeah, you
for us.
banter.
Well,
Yeah.
I know it's interesting too, because like we pinpointed a couple questions, but we've been answering them as we've gone, haven't even had to ask them, right? I mean, I think one of the questions was, yeah, it is, what change do you hope to see in the world as a result of your work? I think at this
Hmm.
point, everyone has a very clear picture of
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
what you hope to see change in the world as a result of your work.
totally. Absolutely. It's so, yeah, shame is the big one, I would say. And I love that, like, before that's been my focus, is dispelling shame. And then Abby wrote her book, and I didn't know anything about that before I came to be a volunteer, and was told, go read Abby's book. And I pick it up and I'm like, of course it is. And what's truly amazing to me is that since we all learn so dramatically different, right? It's like a case of same message, different messenger, right? I
Yeah.
say this all the time to parents because they're like, I have told my kid that 700 times. Why now? Great question. But we're all that way, right? We all have this weird, I could have heard something from 500 people. And the moment Jamie, who is my mentor, the moment she said it, it made sense to me. So, and it wasn't the fault of anybody else having said it before. It was just that the way she said it clicked with me. And shame can be talked about over and over and over again. Brene Brown is a shame researcher. We all know
Oh
her
yeah.
name.
Yep.
Published everything. She's incredible. Okay. But someone's going to read Abby's book and have already read Brene Brown, and something's going to click from Abby's. Right. Does that mean that a whole bunch of people haven't read Brene's and have that click? No. Right. Peterson also does a bunch of stuff on shame. Right. There's so many different people studying, and that topic is huge, but it will only resonate with the right people when the right people say it. So it's just it's a
Well,
cool
for the
thing
same reason, there's thousands of genres of music and
Oh
subgenres
yeah.
and very specific
Oh, God,
Absolutely.
we
nuance.
did just talk about that for an hour when we were at physical
Yeah.
therapy earlier.
Um,
So it's funny that you meant Dr. Abby Morano, who is Work in Progress, is the name of the book,
yeah.
and same thing. I read it too, and I was just texting, like I would type a sentence and be like, "Get out of my head,"
Yeah,
and she would write back. She was like, "Yeah, I wrote it. How do you think I?" I'm like, yeah, but it was interesting because like I didn't get the proper parental figure until my stepfather was in the picture. My biological father was a mess, and reading the first part of the book where she just rips the band-aid off and is like,
right off.
this is horrible, like everything I'm going to tell you, you may judge me, but also I need to say these things because the
Mhm.
whole thing is how you transition from shame being negative to recognizing the empowerment that I literally that was like, oh man, like my dad kicked down the bathroom door to yell at my brother and threaten us, and she's like, yeah, we went to and so it was that, you know what I mean? It was
It's
just like,
that,
yeah, you have somebody else that you can. It's not the we turn the light on and interrogate you
right?
feeling. It was I can't believe, and I
It's
don't know how
so,
many times like, you probably said it to yourself when you were reading, like, I don't believe you had the strength to write that down and share it with the world, make that public. That was, yeah,
yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I've been trying to write a book for the last 4 years, and I have yet to get myself to.
That was
I
one of my
don't know how many
questions was,
drafts I've
were you
had, and I've
going to
chucked
write a
it.
book?
Huh?
No, I said that was something I thought about earlier asking, but I didn't want to interrupt the flow of conversation. Is, are you writing a book?
Yeah,
Yes.
I've had like 3 drafts now and ditched each one of them because I don't have the courage. I have not, let me rephrase that. I have not yet had the courage to publish what I have drafted. And I'm not sure, there's a plethora of different things, right? Oh, no, it's not quite right. Or maybe I'm just scared of what people will think. Like there's a lot of different pieces of it. And I'm choosing to give myself the space to just keep trying again until whatever it is lines up and I'm ready to do it. But I will say 12-step groups was a place that I found, and 12-step groups aren't for everyone. Like, don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm saying. But for me, what I found was exactly what you were talking about, Nick, was that like people are sitting there and they're saying the same things. And it was remarkable because the group that I happened to be a part of didn't have one specific. So like people weren't there all for the same problem.
Yeah.
We're all there for a wealth of different whatever. Everything from substance abuse to like, I'm just not happy. Right. So could have been anything. And it was wild to have people express something and you would just watch a light bulb and it wouldn't be anything like what the original statement wouldn't necessarily be anything astounding. It was just a general statement of like, I feel this, or I was thinking about this, or I had this experience or whatever. And the light bulb would go on across the table in someone else's face. And they would finish saying what they were saying. And then they would say, okay, I want to share. And that just got me thinking. And then they would share something. And then the light bulb would go on over here. And that process could go on for an hour. And by the end of it, everyone had some sort of aha moment that was entirely their own because of something that someone else shared. And that to me was like, oh my gosh, this is truly a matter of like, that's your personal recovery. You're walking your own personal road. But there's these moments that your brain is ready to tie things together and go, oh, look at that. Or, oh, this is inspiring. Or, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way. And that goes back to that like communal, it's that moment of just learning from each other and growing with each other.
There's an old proverb that says there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's something that it's kind of weird because I feel like nowadays we are exposed to more people than ever before by means of the internet.
Yeah.
But we are at the same time closed off from genuine connections more than ever before. So it's kind of this weird balance because there is benefit in the internet. There's benefit in observing people's shared experience. There's benefit in forums. There's benefit in a lot of these different things.
Right.
But I don't think any amount of that will ever replace, at least in my opinion, sitting across the table from somebody and sharing a meal.
No. Well, no, because first off, you release oxytocin when you're sharing a meal, and that's the love drug. That's the human connection piece that you just don't get when you're online looking at different things. Yeah. So there's that piece. That's my moment of, hey, food is not bad. I have to remind kids of that all the time. I'm like, there's a reason that from the beginning of time we share meals together. And it's not just because we like to eat. That's great and all, but it's deeper than that. We've been sharing meals as a form of companionship since the beginning of time for a reason. And that is a special thing. It's also why many cultures, like that's the greatest honor you could get, is to be invited into a home and fed, right? That's not the only reason. Obviously there's the monetary and there's other pieces, but it goes back to, these are like things that are so crucial. And when you sit down together and you banter uninhibited, vulnerably in a space that is safe. I would never advocate for just doing that with someone that you don't know or that has not proven themselves to be safe. So that's an important piece of this. But in a space that is safe and people that you can trust, at least to some regards with the topic, the unscripted imperfection and messiness is what inspires us in other people and what we learn from.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part.
That was
All the other conversations are boring.
Yeah, we used to do it all the time when we would host rehearsal for the band, and we just did it this past weekend for my birthday, which was like, hey, bring your guitars, but also like get here at like 5 because I'm firing up the barbecue grill and we're gonna sit around and we're gonna chow down and then we're gonna play music. There's like the most communal thing, two things that you could think of.
100%.
And then for the longest time, I was telling somebody this when we were at PT was whoever showed up first got to pick which concert we watched while we were eating dinner before we played. That was
I
like that
love
was the
it.
reward.
I
And
love it.
it could and it nobody got to argue. So it could be Rush one week, it could be a country thing, it could be Tina Turner. It didn't matter. It was like whoever showed up first.
Mongolian Throat Music, the band The Who, HU.
Who?
Uh,
Okay.
definitely could be some
You have your
Mongolian.
homework now after this.
I'm familiar.
HU, is that what you said?
Yes, the Who.
Yeah, I
Not
figured
the,
Nick, you would be familiar,
I'm
but I didn't
familiar.
think
not the Who as in the Who.
No,
No,
The Who as in the HU.
Interesting. Okay, well, now
Anyways,
I'm
thank me
gonna-
later. Continue, Nick.
But
it's a lot
Rush,
of croaking.
I love
It's
that you
not-
threw out Rush first and foremost because
Yeah.
I love Rush.
Yeah, well, we're look at the age range of the band. Everybody's a big Rush fan, big Eagles fan, which was great because we would just play anything from like the Stones and
Yeah.
all the way up to like Maroon 5. But then it, there were no songs that didn't have harmonies. We were like, what if we added this line? You get that influence from all the stuff that you know that you listen to. But then that's a great thing too because when we played the other night, I think we didn't even start with anything by anybody else. It was literally like, here's 4 chords, there's 3 guitar players, you're gonna solo first, you're gonna solo second, and we're just gonna watch each other and be like, I never would have thought of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
It
there's
goes back, it's the same principles, right? It's exactly the same principles.
yeah, it's just a
It's
different
yeah.
method of expression. But yeah, that
Mhm.
was when we
That's
started
cool.
too, and I'm like, we're not stopping anytime soon. I should have known
Yeah.
better. I should have started earlier.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I love that analogy too. Like it's an analogy, but it's a real world example of exactly like it was creativity, it was inspiration, it was laughter, it was companionship, it was all of that in 4 chords and a group of people.
Yeah, tell me if you're gonna put like your top 1, 2, 3, like what are the things that are the most communal? Food, music.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what the third one is. Like
Right?
those are the top 2 answers on Family Feud. That's all I know.
Right. Yeah, totally. 100%. No doubt. No doubt.
I love you have to talk a little bit about the Attitude is Everything Foundation because I figure if you had a billboard to decide like how are we bringing Lindsey? How do we describe Lindsey to the folks watching Fireside Chat? Oh well, she's from Attitude is Everything. That's about everything you need to know about Lindsey. That's pretty much that's it right there.
Oh, I wish my attitude was always that good. This has been a long road. So the Attitude is Everything was founded by Jesse LeBeau, and he's the CEO. Like he is the attitude man. And he does speak at high schools and middle schools and stuff across the country. And COVID happened, and COVID shut everything down, and no one wanted anybody live speaking anywhere.
Yeah, and
so he was
COVID
like, well,
happened.
how do I turn this into a program or something that, like, how do I continue to get this out online? And the Attitude Advantage program was born. So we had met in Portland probably a year and a half prior to that. In passing, I volunteered for a horse ranch that basically took rescue horses and partnered them with rescue people. And so I grew up riding horses, and so it was a natural place for me to volunteer and help at. And then I also was working for another agency that did essentially apprenticeships and helped kids off the street that were houseless, homeless for a lot of them were coming out of foster care, but some of them were coming out of trafficking situations and other things. So that was where I worked, and then I volunteered over there, and I got a call one day, and it was like, can you come out here and help with some horse handling? We got some stuff going on out here, and I need another set of hands. I was like, yeah, absolutely, as soon as I get off work. So I literally left one organization and drove to the next, and I got there, and there was like a boom truck and drones flying around and cameras, and I looked like rough, right? Like I looked like I was going to the barn to handle some horses. And if you know anything about that, it is not like it is on the cameras or the pictures. It is like you're wearing rubber boots and your hair is
What? It's not Yellowstone?
It is not even
Hallmark Channel.
It is not even like good Levi's commercial. Like it is bad. Okay. It is a bad, you look homeless, and I didn't care. But all of a sudden I was like, oh shoot. So that was Jesse videoing a TV show. And I got to be the lucky one handling horses.
Nice.
And then 2 days later, I showed up to do another event, and he was the one that was hosting that event for the TV show. So between those two, we saw each other's face, and we, you know, walked around and handed out some meals to homeless people and interacted, but we really didn't talk all that much, hardly at all, really. Followed each other on Instagram. That was about it, right? And then a year and a half later, I just get a message, and he's like, "Hey, do you still work with teens?" I'm like, "Sure do." You know, like that's just, I work with kids. And at the time, I was working at the Youth and Adolescent Maximum Security State Hospital. And I was like, "Yo, what's up?" And he's basically like, "I'm starting a coaching program and looking for people to fill spots that I'm not a specialist in, right? So I'm not a coach. I'm looking for someone to help me write the coaching portion." So that was me. And here we are all this time later. And we teach kids how to have attitude. So they run through the 12-week program with all of the curriculum and everything that he has built, and the beautiful program that he has built. And I do the coaching, one-on-one coaching with them, and mentorship. So
Love it.
that is what TAP is.
I love it. I mean, honestly, I think I speak for the entire team when I say we're very, very honored to have you as a part of the team.
Oh, God,
It's a
thanks.
privilege to have you here, and you've been a phenomenal addition, not only just to the skill set, but to the attitude of the ILF. So
Thanks, guys.
thank you very much for being here.
I'll
And it's
try.
what I love about talking to you is like every 30 minutes it'll drop a fun fact. It's like a whole nother avenue. It's like, oh yeah, and I horse handle. Anyways, back to what we were talking about before. Yeah.
I may or may not be
And a couple of books,
ADHD.
you know,
Yeah, I'm definitely ADHD. So I have tried and semi learned. I wouldn't like, I would say, what is that term? Master of none.
oh, jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah. That is definitely because then I lose interest and I hop on to the next thing, right?
Yep.
So it's just,
As a fellow ADHDer, I always tell people my hobby is hobbies. In fact,
Totally.
share this with the class. I've decided to try to improve my handwriting. That's my most recent thing.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah. So I printed out a bunch of worksheets and bought some writing pens, and I've been going to town.
Lindsey, I can't even make this up. Like, we for a while, because we did the barrel pick and we've done some things that with the bourbon and whiskey communities. John was doing tastings, and so you basically do like a flight, and then John, because John, don't let anybody know this secret. He's really 4,000 years old. Is that he knew everything about the mixture, about the distillery, about the history of the distillery.
I just got to experience this the other day.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so he did that with us with whiskey.
Yeah.
And then did the same thing with Pokemon. Like, that's how this guy's wired. Like, and immediately, like, right between the age of like of me and B, who volunteers with us too, and so he just pivots. Like, old guy conversation, cool. Old guy conversation. Young person conversation, young person conversation. Like, what is happening?
Enjoy, because you can't sit still. You can't. Your brain has to pick up a new task or a new direction, or else. And then you hyperfixate on that. You learn every detail you could possibly ever need to know, which is far more than my brain hole actually needed to store. And then I'm off to the next thing. It's a problem.
So speaking of mentorship, you know Aaron. We love Aaron. Aaron's the best. Anyone who's been following the channel of ILF knows we love Aaron. But it was a really funny experience for me. So I had never done any sort of talk therapy or anything like that growing up. I'd had different mentors. I'd had different, leaders in my life, but never specifically that sort of a space.
Environment. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when, I've been with the ILF now for a little over 5 years. And so as an employee, especially, there was, of course, that mandated wellness.
Right.
So I started going to this wellness thing, and not that I thought it was, useless. I just thought, like, I don't
need this. Right.
This isn't really like what I need. Right.
Totally.
Like, yeah, I'm checking the box, right? I'm like, okay, it's that time of the month. Check, move on. Right.
Yep.
But what was really funny is, well, one, I really started to enjoy it because I just got to take an hour and hang out with Aaron, which is great.
Yes.
But as time went on, it was really, really funny. There was one session. She goes, "You know you're ADHD, right?" And I was like, "Am I?" She's like, "Well, I can't. I'm not your psychiatrist, so I cannot diagnose you. But
you might want to I'll get to
So there's
that.
this great chart, right? And if you have so many of the markers, you know, she's like, you've got all of them. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So she
You're
was
like,
like,
I won. I bingoed.
yeah, I checked every single box. So she was like, well, I encourage you, check out these resources, see if you resonate with this.
Mhm,
And I started reading it. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. It's like reading an autobiography, right?
mhm.
Yeah.
And it was just really interesting to me because I would have considered myself, and I still consider myself, a relatively well mentally adjusted person.
Right.
But it was a really eye-opening experience for me. It was everybody needs therapy. And whether you want to call it therapy or not,
Right.
everybody needs someone that they can be in a space with. They know it's not going anywhere and they can just talk. And that's really been the theme of this whole conversation tonight is just we need other humans
Mhm.
that we trust and that we know have our best interest at heart.
Right.
And that feels like the most simple statement of all time, but we tend to just not act on it
Mhm.
constantly.
Yeah. How many people, like, you see them online, you see it when you go over to a friend's house, right? They clean their house right before you come.
Yeah.
They put it all in order, right? That's what we do.
Yep. Yeah.
Our entire society has been trained to put everything in order before you welcome someone into your
Well, yeah,
space.
because it can't look like anybody lives in your house.
Right. Or at the very least, you can't look like you don't have it together.
Yeah.
Because then you wouldn't be a successful adult. You would be an irresponsible adult, right? So we're trained from a very young age. Oh, okay, we're going to go out in public. You better be on your best behavior, right? Like, this really does start very, very young in very simple things that I don't believe, honestly, any harm is meant in most of these things.
No.
But what it does is it creates a culture where we don't tend to welcome each other into our ugly, honest, raw space very often.
Judge
Even
first.
yeah. And so having that therapy, having the counselor, having the mentor, having the coach, having the whatever, it doesn't really matter. Whatever works for you, and different things work for different people. And honestly, as someone with co-occurring issues, it's not one thing that works for me. It's a
No.
plethora of different
Just
things,
sample
all
it
of
all.
them, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm an ADHD. I need talk therapy, and I need a coach, and I need an art therapist, and I need some sort of physical activity. And all of those things are important in little bits
Mhm.
and pieces. And all the common denominator, though, in those spaces is honest, raw, open communication that is in a safe space. And so it can look like lots of different things, but you can absolutely be a well-adjusted adult and still need to have that space for yourself,
We
or else go crazy.
we may need to just pivot from fireside chat to just hot mess because I think that's all of us right now
I wish
collectively.
that was my mentor's favorite thing, was she would come, like, she would catch me in like a downhill spiral of some sort, and she'd be like, are you ready to get out of your dirty pee pants, or are we just going to sit in them right now? Because I'll sit with you. And I'm like, no, I'm sitting in my dirty pee pants. And she's like, okay, I just needed to know if I was
That's
sitting
fine. I just got to get my mindset right. Yeah.
Yep, I just have to know which way we're going. Are we getting up and out, or are we sitting here for a minute?
Yeah.
And that was huge, like, that was groundbreaking to me. That, and I would walk in every week, and I would come in the door, and without thinking about it, someone would say, normally her, would say, how you doing? And I would always respond, I'm good, how are you? And she, at one point, turned me around, she just looked at me, and she goes, turn around, go back out the door and try again. And I was like, you're right, I'm a hot mess and I'm pissed. And she's like, okay,
All right, great.
great, we got to start. Let's go ahead and change the attitude. I'm
Such
like,
a difference.
okay, fair.
Just such a difference that
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
something. So fun fact, it's 9 o'clock. That was an
I know.
hour.
That was
Like,
an hour. It
right.
flew.
Felt like 3 minutes,
Yeah.
which we knew was going to happen. Which was, like I said, that's why we weren't going to get to 11 questions.
We did.
Yeah. So everything's been answered that chat has been posting over the course of the last hour. Do you want to talk a little bit about something, the project that you're working on, something that you're really proud of, something that you want people to know about, so we can, and maybe how they can help support?
Sure. That's a great, you threw me off guard on that one. Of all the questions, this is the one that throws me.
Here, I'll buy you 10 seconds. The Innocent Lives Foundation is a non-vigilante organization that identifies anonymous child predators online, develops and delivers specialized training for law enforcement, and provides education resources for families. You can find out more at innocentlivesfoundation.org. There you go.
Beautiful.
Damn.
So, the current thing I would just say, the funded case between funded case and the most recent safe house. So funded case with ILF is huge, getting those cases funded so that we can continue the work that we do because everybody's volunteer. So it's necessary. And then ILF with the most recent, or ILF, I'm sorry, Safe House Foundation, Safe House Project, Innocent Lives Foundation, too many things. Launched Simply Report, and I think that's one of the more groundbreaking things that I've seen recently, is just the ability to anonymously report. And I had the chance and opportunity of watching a man come up to a booth this weekend that I was at, and just was very, you can tell in his demeanor, he was having a rough go. And he opened up and just said he was, he was looking at his shirt and he said, I was one of them. And as he walked away, it was like, you know what? Let's make sure and get him a Simply Report flyer. And we gave him a t-shirt. And that he literally looked like he was going to cry, but the amount of empowerment that it gives anyone else is just incredible. The ability to say, I'm going to report something that I find suspicious anonymously, and the law enforcement gets to take it from there. That is, it's helping law enforcement because it makes it easy for them, and it is helping other people. And so I think just getting that into the hands of people who don't know where to go with things and don't know what to do and aren't sure if their tips are valid and they don't want to get made fun of, talk about shame again, right? Maybe they don't want to talk to an officer, all of those different things. They don't have to, and they still have the ability to put a report out there and know that they're making a difference. So, yeah.
I love it. Well, Lindsey, we are very, very blessed and proud to have you as a part of the team.
Thank you guys.
Thank you very much for being here, and thank all of you for joining us tonight on our Fireside Chat. And if you missed it, that's okay. This is all getting posted on YouTube. You'll be able to go back and watch it, get some clips. And I have a feeling we'll have Lindsey back again. So don't worry, we'll have a part 2.
Thank you guys.
But thank you guys very much for being here.
Thank you, Lindsey.
Bye.
Yeah.